Okay, so today we're jumping into this really powerful article by Dennis Stevens. It's called After the Nonsense. And it gets at a feeling I think a lot of us have, right? That feeling that our government is just completely exhausted. But here's the thing, instead of just complaining about it, he asks a much, much better question. And this is the question that kicks the whole thing off. The article just assumes, right off the bat, that the way things are now, all this dysfunction, it's not going to last forever. So the real focus isn't if it's all going to end, but what we're going to build to replace it. What actually comes next? Man, that quote just nails the feeling of right now, doesn't it? Stevens is basically saying, look, we're not in a living, breathing democracy anymore. It's more like its hollowed out shell. And to figure out where we go from here, he says we need to look back, but not to some perfect golden age that never existed, but to the philosophy behind the original design. And that brings us right to the heart of the whole argument, the framers' realism. You see, they weren't trying to build some kind of perfect utopia. Not at all. They were building a practical system, and they had a very clear-eyed, unsentimental view of human nature. Stevens gives this idea a name, structural realism. So what is structural realism? Well, it's not about crossing our fingers and hoping for good, virtuous leaders to show up. It's about building a machine, a structure, that's so well designed that it actually channels people's self-interest towards the common good. The focus is totally on the design of the system, not on the good intentions of the people in it. Yeah, the whole goal was never perfection. The framers knew that was a fool's errand. They got it. They understood that society is messy, it's packed with competing groups, and it's fueled by raw ambition. And this is the really crucial part. The system was designed for us, for imperfect people with all our flaws and our self-interest. It was built for human nature as it actually is, not how we might wish it were. And if you think about it, that's a huge shift from how we usually talk about government these days. And this quote from the article just nails it. The genius of the design wasn't to try and crush ambition or pretend it doesn't exist. Nope, it was to use ambition to check itself. Think about it. With the separation of powers, one person's hunger for power is automatically balanced and checked by another's. It's just a brilliant, incredibly realistic way to think about governing. Okay, so building on this whole idea of realism, Stevens then asks us to take a fresh look at those famous words, government of the people and for the people. What do they actually mean in the real world, beyond just being a nice-sounding slogan? And this distinction he makes is so important. Of the people, that's not just showing up to vote every few years. It's the hard, daily grind of governing ourselves. And for the people, that means the system itself is built, it's hardwired to serve human well-being, with accountability baked right into the design, not just something we hope for. But to actually make that happen, there's this one key concept we have to grasp. It's something the framers totally understood, but Stevens argues we've pretty much forgotten it. It's called ordered liberty. Okay, this comparison is so critical. A lot of the time when we hear the word liberty, we think of freedom from rules, right? Freedom from any kind of restraint. But ordered liberty, that's totally different. It's freedom within a structure, within a shared moral and constitutional order that actually makes liberty possible for everyone, not just for the strongest. Yeah, put simply, your freedom depends on me being responsible, and my freedom depends on you being responsible. Ordered liberty says that our rights don't just exist in a vacuum. They are fundamentally tied to our obligations to each other and our commitment to the public good. You take away that balance, and freedom it collapses. It either becomes chaos or tyranny. All right, so we've got the philosophy down, right? Structural realism and ordered liberty. But that's all just theory. What does it actually look like in practice? Well, Stevens lays out a kind of blueprint for what he calls an architecture of accountability. So the strategy here is basically to take our principles, our values, and stop just talking about them. We need to build them directly into the nuts and bolts of government. Instead of just wishing people were accountable, we literally encode accountability into the infrastructure. The end goal is a structure that actually shapes how people behave, making it so that acting in a way that helps the republic survive isn't just a choice, it's a requirement. So let's get concrete. Here's what some of this might actually look like. Imagine if every single thing that government did created a permanent public record you could check. Total transparency. Or what if power had an automatic expiration date? It just runs out unless it's actively renewed, which would stop people from getting entrenched forever. Imagine if you couldn't govern without building consensus, forcing people to collaborate instead of just fight. And get this, a system where the opposition is formally recognized and even funded, because we understand that healthy dissent is a feature, not a bug. And maybe the biggest one of all, the ultimate safety valve, the ability for people to just exit, to leave a system that's no longer working for them. Now that is what accountability by design really means. So all of this leads us to the final big challenge. And it's not about trying to go back in time to some perfect past that never really existed. It's about taking the framers' core realistic principles and applying them to our world today with some real imagination and discipline.
Which brings us full circle, right back to that central question. Once all the nonsense is over, the gridlock, the constant outrage, the sheer exhaustion, what does a government that is truly of the people and for the people actually, really look like?
And the answer, according to Stevens, is both a little scary and incredibly empowering. There's no pre-written script. It's going to look like whatever we have the courage to actually build, whatever we have the wisdom to design for human nature as it really truly is. The responsibility, and yeah, the opportunity, well, that's on us.